Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1930B, and today's date is July 30th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Voter ID Coming, Investigations Deep and Wide. Watch the news. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about Roundup Weed Killer. You know the stuff that you spray on weeds in your lawn or on your patio to kill the weeds. Well, it has been declared cancer-causing by the World Health Organization. Glyphosate in Roundup is likely a cancer-causing agent, according to the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer. See if you qualify for compensation today. Get information about the ever-changing legal environment surrounding Roundup. We can explain your legal rights. Please visit claimroundup.com and see if you qualify for compensation. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, I just wanted to mention that I uploaded a new interview with Eric Saderholm. It is on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, or you can go to Steam it, BitChute, or you can come to the X22Report.com site to view the interview. Now, as Q has always said, timing is perfect. And when we look at everything that's going on, timing is perfect. The investigations are coming to an end. The truth is about to be revealed. Epstein is out in the public eye. Trump has shifted optics to look at the Squad, to look at Cummings, to look at Baltimore, to look at many other cities, to look at the money, to look at the grants that are being sent to these areas and asking the question, where is all this money going? Trump is doing this on purpose. The patriots are doing this on purpose. They're exposing the corruption. They're bringing it out to the public domain so people start asking questions. This is the storm, and it is hitting hard in every single area. And we're going to be getting into the storm a little bit later in this report. But first, let's head out to Baltimore. We know that Trump called Baltimore a rat-infested city. Well, Fox Baltimore, they were filming on the streets, and all of a sudden, as they were filming, a rat went right past the camera, showing everyone that, yes, Baltimore is a rat-infested city. And this is coming out of Fox Baltimore. It says a rat runs through a Fox 45 Baltimore reporter's live shot during a story on President Trump's tweet, Baltimore is rat-infested. Perfect timing. Now, Brian Gates tweeted out the following. Aha, exactly like I figured, a ton of federal dollars went into Baltimore under Trump in the last 2.5 years, $18 billion. They tracked it. They know what was done with it. They know who looted it. Then he went on to say, okay, I misheard. It wasn't $18 billion over 2.5 years. The HUD director said it was $16 billion in 2018 alone. The Fed government pumped $16 billion into Cummings District in 2018. Where in the world did the money go? And when you look at this is the D's worst nightmare come true. Trump is bringing attention to their cities, how they're run down, how they're rat-infested, how there's corruption, that there are people sleeping on the streets in San Francisco. And he's doing this on purpose because now what he's doing, just like he did with Puerto Rico, we're giving billions and billions of dollars to Baltimore. Where is all this money going? Because it's not going to help the cities. Because look at the cities. So the obvious question is, where is it all going? And Trump, he is doing this all on purpose. This is part of the storm because he needs to bring attention and he needs people to ask questions about all of this. Remember, the mainstream media is not going to do it. The other politicians aren't going to do it. Everyone's going to stay quiet. They don't want anyone to know about this. This is not something that you bring out to the public because now you have to start to explain. And then if there's an audit, it gets even worse. And as we know, Trump has put the Squad front and center to make them the face of the Tea Party. And it seems it is working. People are siding with Trump. There's a poll. And it says Speaker Nancy Pelosi has 28% favorable opinion and a 46% unfavorable opinion about the squad. And Trump is again calling attention. He's calling attention to all these individuals, and it's being done on purpose. It's all part of the plan. Now, the deep state players, they are now panicking. Coates is gone. There are no more blocks. The investigations are wrapping up. The truth is about to be revealed to the public. And the D's, they really have nothing left. Everything that was in place to protect them is slowly being stripped away. And before you know it, and it's getting to that point, they're going to have nothing. And this is why you'll see certain deep state players, certain Dems, come out and all they do is tweet scream. Look at Debbie Wasserman Schultz now. She has quite a bit to lose here. She tweeted out the following: "At real Donald Trump, your racist insults will never change the fact that at Representative Cummings has unmatched integrity and universal bipartisan respect. You are reviled. He is revered. At Oversight Dems will continue to do our jobs and expose your corruption." She's projecting right now. She's nervous. She's afraid. She realizes what is happening. And it looks like that entire DNC lawsuit, well, it looks like a federal judge dismissed it with prejudice. This is the conclusion. The court has considered all the arguments raised by the parties. To the extent not specifically addressed, the arguments are either moot or without merit. For the reasons explained above, the DNC's second amended complaint is dismissed with prejudice, and the campaign's motion for sanctions under Rule 11 is denied. The clerk is directed to enter judgment dismissing the second amended complaint with prejudice. Now, think about this. Everything is based on Russian collusion. Everything that they've been talking about, the DNC hack, WikiLeaks, Clinton's emails, you name it, it was all blamed on the Russians. Russians were hacking the elections in all 50 states. It's all falling apart. And they don't know what to do. They're nervous, they're panicking, and fear is setting in. Now, very interestingly, Chris Wray's FBI continues to cover for the FBI that dealt with Comey's Russian shenanigans. And they will not release certain information. And this is coming out of the Hill. The FBI can't afford to jeopardize the fragile relationship that exists between the United States and certain foreign groups, the FBI official declared in another dramatic argument against the conservative group Citizens United request to release the memos. And if that wasn't enough, the Bureau actually claimed that FBI special agents have privacy interests from unnecessary, unofficial questioning as to the conduct of investigations and other FBI business. In other words, agents don't want to have to answer to the public, which, since we pay their salaries, when we want answers to certain questions, they should reply to them. Now, we have to ask ourselves a couple of questions here. Is Wray a sleeper agent? Can Wray be trusted? Why isn't the FBI turning over this information? Well, first of all, let's go back to post 1122. This was August 10th, 2018. It says trust Sessions, trust Wray, trust Kansas, trust Horowitz, trust Huber. So there, Q is telling us that we should trust Wray. Then, and this was just yesterday, post 3537, and Anon said Wray is a sleeper because Dan Coates is a sleeper agent, and Q says future marker. Now, think about this. Why wouldn't they hand over the memos right now? Now, we discussed this before, because if they hand over the memos and Nunes and others get it, Schiff and the rest would leak them out. Plus, this is part of an investigation. This is an ongoing investigation by Durham. think about that for a second. And we're going to be discussing that a little bit later because Whitaker actually brought this up. I don't know if he knew that he was saying this or it slipped, but Comey is being investigated. And we'll be talking about that in just a minute. Now, what's very interesting, we know that the deep state, the Dems, they want to get Trump's tax returns. And I've said this from the beginning. This has all been planned out from the very beginning. They knew if they withheld Trump's tax returns, they were going to come after his returns in full force. And I do believe they knew they were going to modify the laws. New York has done it, and now California has done it. And it's called the Presidential Tax Transparency Accountability Act. This is SB 27. And Newsom signed it, saying whoever's running for president must produce their tax returns if they want to be on the ballot in California. Now, of course, Trump's lawyer came out and said, hey, we're going to take this to court. This is unconstitutional. But I do believe that this is part of a bigger plan. Because if we go back to Q's post where it says, what happens if all these individuals were audited 1 to 2 years? And if you notice, they keep screaming and yelling, I want to see taxes, I want to see this, I want to see their investments, I want to dig deep. I believe the patriots are setting them up to take a fall. I believe that they're going to use all of this against them. And they're the ones who are going to be audited. Everything's going to be turned around on them. Now let's head down to the border. Representative Andy Biggs, he is exposing the lie against the Border Patrol agents. And it looks like he's had enough. So he took a camera, he went down, and he decided to tour the El Paso CBP holding station. And this is what he said. Take a listen.
The lie that you've heard is that these folks don't get hygiene products like toothbrushes, like soap, toothpaste, diapers, washcloths, medications that they have. Walk over here, men's socks. If they come in and they have their clothing's gone bad, been torn, ripped, they get all these clothes that we provide them. Look at this, these boxes upon boxes of everything from panties and bras and more pants, more shirts. What we have over here are the snack shelves. This is just for snacks, available 24/7. This is not about the 3 hot meals that they get a day here at this facility. These are all snacks that they're getting, whether it's chips or you got value packs of stuff, additional nuts and chips and all, etc. They get the juice boxes, all of this going on. And you know what? You have people for political reasons who want to continue to tell the lie and demonize these men and women of Border Patrol who are doing everything they possibly can. And those people that want to demonize them also prevent us from being able to enforce our laws, enforce our border. And so if you have enforcement, in other words, you're deporting people who have orders of deportation. If you also have the leverage on the Mexican government to help us out, which we've shown you in videos on this trip. We have Mexican people, Mexican military along the border. I'm telling you, that has caused a reduction in this surge that was there, record upon record. But still, 300 to 500 a day are caught in this El Paso sector. This is the problem that we have. But the reality and the truth is, what you see in this big room, shelf upon shelf of supplies for those who have entered the country illegally.
And if you notice, there are more and more of these videos coming out showing that certain political people who have a political agenda, they are lying. And they continually bring cameras down. They show that there's tons and tons of supplies. It shows what the detention centers look like. Yes, they are crowded. But we have to remember who's responsible for that. We also have to remember who hasn't given any funds to help the situation, who hasn't closed loopholes to stop the situation. But again, this is not a prison. People can come and go. If they don't want entrance into the United States, they can go back to Mexico. They can go back to their country. They can seek asylum in Mexico. They don't have to do it here in the United States. And remember, Bill Barr, he is changing all the rules. Now, Trump is out there, and he's saying that he wants U.S. troop reduction in Afghanistan by 2020, before the election. And Secretary of State Mike Pompeo confirmed that the administration intends to reduce the number of U.S. ground troops in Afghanistan sometime before the 2020 presidential election. Timing and size, they're not yet settled, but we know that there's a peace deal going on with the Taliban. It's been in works for a very long time. They're getting very, very close. One part of the deal is to have the U.S. troops removed from Afghanistan. So the Taliban and the Afghanistan government can now talk. They can have elections. And once the U.S. is out of this area, all those poppy fields that pay for the intelligence organization's covert operations, all of that collapses. The source of funding from that area completely collapses. And it is collapsing across the Middle East. It's collapsing on the border. It's collapsing with human trafficking. It's all falling apart. Their source of income is falling by the wayside. And why do you think Trump is out there saying, listen, the government is giving all these areas funding? Where is it all going? And guess what? This funding is going to be cut off, or someone else is going to take control, and these people will not have access to any of it. Let's get into some of Q's post. This is post 3544. Q gives us a Twitter link to Daily Mail, and the title of this article is Jeffrey Epstein is in danger of being murdered before his trial, says victim lawyer. Now, we know there was an attempt on Epstein. Was it a suicide? Most likely not. But we need to remember something very important. Pedophiles in prison, they don't last that long in prison. Many of them are killed. So we have two theories here. This hit could have been individuals that knew he was a pedophile and they went out of their way to try to get rid of him, or this was the deep state, the intelligence organization, trying to remove him to maybe shut down the whole entire investigation. Let's move on to post 3545. This is a Twitter link to V3RB, and it says it's all about the details. Attorney General William Barr will turn over every rock and restore the American people's confidence in the Department of Justice, says former acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker. Now, this is very interesting. Matt Whitaker appeared on Fox News, and he was discussing different investigations, talking about Dan Coates, talking about John Radcliffe, and he said something very, very interesting, which we mentioned just before, and it was about Comey. That Durham is focused on the origin of the intelligence operation against Trump and prosecuting anyone that needs to be prosecuted. Now, this is the important part. He went on to say that Huber is reviewing anything related to Comey's memos and the like. Take a listen.
Yeah, John and I were U.S. attorneys in the Bush administration, and he went on to success elect that, who's a U.S. attorney out of Connecticut. Mm-hmm. He's going to prosecute anybody that needs to be prosecuted. You know, we still have Huber out there looking at some of these things regarding Comey's memos and the like. And so I just think there's a lot of things that Bill Barr is going to be bringing to a conclusion here.
Boom. So what does this all mean? It means that Comey is under investigation. Let's move on to post 3546. And Anon puts up a picture of welcome to U.S. Naval Station Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Now, we saw this picture before. It says, where we go one, where we go all. And there's a little sign, and they're all wearing Q shirts, and it says Q Research Bread 8672, 18th June 2018. And if you remember from yesterday, it said that there's plenty of space And under this it says, where we go one, we go all. Post 3547. And Anon put up praying for POTUS, Q team, and all patriots, God wins. It's a picture of Trump with his hands on his desk. He's leaning on it. And it says, America is back. And what this means is all hands on deck. We're ready. Post 3548. Q gives us placeholder. This is in brackets, bold, caps, D-class, exculpatory evidence, illegal hold, non-report, FISA T survey. So Q has added a new placeholder, and it was added to the 8chan board, and this is about exculpatory evidence. And we discussed this yesterday, where Q gave us exculpatory evidence with the law, Cornell law definition of what it is. And it looks like we're going to see this placeholder fill up. Post 3549. This says hot 8, hot 9, red, Y, freedom, mark 199, Y, pick sig D. Well, this was captured on the archive site, but is no longer on Patriot's Fight Board. And these are op orders not intended for Anons. And it looks like this was just put up there and it was not for us. Post 3550. And Anon puts up a video of the Red Cross, and it shows that there is money inside of these Red Cross tins, which are in this storage room. And down below it says, U.S. taxpayers are paying for it all. Paris Accord, scam trillions. Red Cross, scam billions. Foreign aid equals scam trillions. War equals scam trillions. Who audits where the money actually goes? Who actually receives the money? The U.S. taxpayers funding the very people we are engaged in taking down. Slush funds everywhere. Think GS pays for Antifa out of his own pocket. That's George Soros. The hole is deep. Feel sick yet? Q says, unrelated, but worth noting. Now, the video showing the multiple bins of cash marked ICRC, this is from an article which claims ISIS and Al-Qaeda affiliated al-Nusra smuggle cash into Syria via these bins. And Q is saying, yes, the money flows through the Red Cross, but this is unrelated, but still worth noting. Let's move on to post 3551. This says, not the first time, not the last time. Reread post drops voter ID. Now, going back in time, there are a lot of posts that have to do with voter ID. And Q wants us to go back and reread the voter ID posts again. And remember, some of these posts where Q is saying, listen, getting a driver's license, getting a social security card, going on welfare, getting food stamps, all not racist, but voter ID, that is considered racist, which it isn't. And Q wants us to reread all of this because guess what's coming? Guess what's the next push? It's voter ID. It's time. We are now approaching August of 2019, and they have to have this in place before the 2020 elections. Remember, 2020 elections, they are secure. Voter ID coming. Post 3552. And Anon posted a tweet from Trump. Trump said, and this was July 30th, 2019, we should immediately pass voter ID, at voter ID, please, to ensure the safety and sanctity of our voting system. Also, paper ballots as backup, old-fashioned but true. Thank you. So Trump now is out there, not just Q, Trump together, they are saying it is time for voter ID. And Trump is talking to at voter ID please, and below this it says voter ID please, where we go one, we go all. Come on, America, follow and show your support to require a valid ID to vote. Let's keep this great country on the right track. Underneath it says thanks Baker, missed POTUS linking a QAnon at voter ID please, would say that might be notable directly to page, not a specific twat. Now, the whole thing of this is that Trump actually linked the tweet to QAnon. And in this post, they're recognizing it. Post 3553. This is a Twitter link from Ellen Nochel. It says, "Do you believe in coincidence?" And this is like a Q proof. It has Donald Trump's tweet and has voter ID at voter ID please. And it has a Q post, which was back in 12/12/2018. And it says 2019 push voter ID, which is linked to what Trump is doing right now. So Q told us back in December 12, 2018, that there was going to be a voter ID push in 2019. It has now come true. Under this, it says time travel is fun, or Q. And they already knew that it was going to happen. It was all planned. Post 3554. Q gives us a map, and we've seen this before. It's all the different places where the illegals were placed into the different cities, exactly where the Dems won the vote. And it goes down the whole list of voter suppression. Look at the map. If you take both maps and you overlay them, you can see that wherever the illegals are, that's where the Dems won their votes. And Q is doing this because Q is preparing everyone for voter ID. Under this, it says prepare for voter ID equals voter suppression of minority vote. And this is what the Dems are going to say. If we push voter ID, it's going to be voter suppression of minority vote. But there's a problem with this. The National Bureau of Economic Research study contradicts the voter suppression argument. And this is in a paper, and it says, we find the laws have no negative effect on registration or turnout overall for any group defined by race, gender, age, or party affiliation. And again, why would a voter ID keep people away from voting? It wouldn't. The only people that it would keep away are those people that aren't citizens in the United States. Because if you are a citizen and you're black, you're white, you're yellow, you're orange, you're a different religion, it doesn't make a difference. You're a citizen of the United States, you get a voter ID, and you vote. Now, if you come across the border and you're not here legally, you can't get the voter ID. Yes, it would keep those people away. Well, they're not citizens. And people say, oh, those people should be able to vote. Well, let's back up for a sec here. Think about this. What happens if there's an individual out there or a country that says, you know something? I would like to change the elections in the United States. We will send 10 million Russians, let's say, because that's what the mainstream media, the Dems, the deep state, they tell us to fear the Russians. Let's place 10 million Russians in the United States. They're not citizens, but let's have them vote. We will be able to change who is the next president. Guess what? Countries would be able to control the outcome of the elections. And maybe their candidate is a dual citizen or a Manchurian candidate who is Russian, pretending to be American. And once they're elected, they do everything the opposite of what the people want. They do everything for Russia. And that's easily done if you don't have voter ID and if you let people who are not citizens vote. Now, very interestingly, a new story is out there, and it's saying that Russians have hacked all 50 states during the 2016 election cycle. And this is based off all their findings. But there's a problem, and it's misleading, because the Senate Intel report found no evidence that vote tallies were altered or that vote registry files were deleted or modified, yet the big headline was that Russia hacked all 50 states. And Paul Sperry tweeted out the following. Breaking. It was Obama's cybersecurity czar who originally came up with the claim, now being hyped by Senate Democrats and the mainstream media, that Russia targeted election systems in all 50 states, a notion that is based on zero evidence and 100% speculation and assumption. And he's absolutely right. There is absolutely no evidence whatsoever. And there's no Russian collusion. And Mueller said that Russia did not alter the results of the election. Post 3555 gives us a Twitter link to Devin Nunes. And it says, hunting for chupacabras circa 2001. And it shows Devin Nunes, a young Devin Nunes, with a rifle. And he's in camouflage. Under it, it says, targets may be closer than they appear. Hunters become the hunted. It means the patriots are now hunting the deep state. They are no longer the hunters. We are. And they are running, and we are hunting them. Post 3556. And Anon puts up a tweet from The Hill, and it says, just in, Trump tags QAnon account in calling for voter ID law. Under this, it says The Hill verified account, and it's just the same title I just read. And under that, it says, Trump has periodically called for stricter voter ID laws, which advocates warn could restrict ballot access in low-income communities, students, and people of color. Like clockwork. ID required when? Sheep follow the most absurd arguments. Deep-parter voter corruption on display. Why would it keep them away? There's no reason it would keep them away. I mean, they have a driver's license. They have to get an ID. They have to use an ID to get welfare, food stamps, and anything else. Why would this keep them away? It wouldn't. This is propaganda. And Q is right. It's like clockwork. Post 3557. It's a repost of 3555, Devin Nunes, and under it, it says placeholder, D-class exculpatory evidence, illegal hold, non-report, and it says T equals target or targeted. So when you read it, FISA targets or targeted surveillance. Under this, it says, watch the news this week. And we know from Joe D that parts of the D-class and other investigations, they're going to start to come out. Q is telling us to watch the news. It's all about to blow. And you're really going to see the fireworks. You're really going to see panic. You're really going to see the deep state scramble, the mainstream media scramble to create their spin, to create the idea that still these people have done nothing wrong. But as the patriots continually put out the information, documentation with signatures, put together the story with video and everything else, the mainstream media, the deep state, they're just digging their hole. Because once you provide facts, truth, proof, and everything else, and the mainstream media and the rest are trying to use propaganda, and they're digging their hole deeper and deeper and deeper, at some point, they won't be able to get out of the hole. The truth, the facts will be so overpowering that they'll be caught up in all their lies. And this will be the downfall of the deep state and the mainstream media. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.